And we'd love to open up to the audience. If anyone here has questions for Gustavo.
Yes.
Ooh, there's a microphone.
A couple of years ago, I had a wonderful chance to get to see The Book of Life. I absolutely love your work on that movie.
It's amazing.
I was just wondering, what were the joys and challenges of working on a kids movie the first time, and how did it feel trying to be able to open up that childlike innocence to a children's movie, for kids specifically?
What was the first question? I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Oh, what were the joys and challenges of working on a kids movie for the first time?
Fantastic. I mean, first of all, I love the work of Jorge, Gutierrez, and his work obviously reflects his soul. And he's a beautiful, beautiful person, and he really belongs to that world that he draws, totally. I would say in the difference from other movies that get done in Hollywood and some other animation movie, I think Book of Life has a particular heart that sometimes in the other movies, as good as they are and as good as they work and they function, they don't necessarily have. I've been blessed enough to, and also it's a decision that I took, a choice that I made to work in movies that actually are not representative of the Hollywood status, you know what I mean, the status quo. So I think Book of Life it's an animation movie for kids that don't really. It's exactly like a Pixar movie. It's different, and to work in a movie for kids that dealt with a subject as touchy and as incredible as death. It was a really, really difficult, especially to deal with, with the studio for that, and for Jorge and for Guillermo del Toro, who's, my friend, which I'm actually working with him in something now, but Guillermo had very, very difficult times with the studio to get some of these things in the movie, because they didn't want to deal with,
Not in a kids movie.
No.
Yeah. Are you working on Pan's Labyrinth with him?
Yes.
The music for the stage
yes,
production?
Yes, we're doing a musical version of Pan's Labyrinth.
¿Y va a estar el fauno? ¿The fauno is going to be there?
Excuse me?
¿El fauno va a estar ahí?
Sí, por supuesto.
Oye.
Yeah. The faun sings kind of like in a voice like a kind of Tom Waits.
Wow.
That's the faun is kind of like
perfect.
that. So I just give you a little hint. Yes, I wrote the music with the lyrics by Paul Williams, legendary Paul Williams, which is a beautiful human being.
Oh, that's so
amazing
exciting.
Human being. Amazing human being. Ready for more questions, unless you find me not interesting at all.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for your music.
Very, very welcome.
My question is, I find a number of the movies that you've written music for, like Babel, hard to watch. They're intense. They're sad. Cry through a lot of them. Even the clips that we watched earlier, And you're such an upbeat guy. You have such an optimistic outlook. Would you talk some about how that influences how you approach these very intense movies that deal with such 21 grams, for goodness sakes?
Because sometimes, I like to think that the issue can be tragic, but the spirit is festive. So there is a dark side to existence, right? And especially these days, and the moment that we are, going, the phase that the world is going through, which is something also that has to do with many things, right? But the spirit is festive, and that's the most important thing, and I think that's I mean, part of that is what will allow us to go over the dark aspects of existence. So I love humor. I think, I mean, humor is fundamental, you know. We can't, you know, live without it, you know. So it's I can live with both things. I mean, I can be a very strong and very tough, you know, but I can also be very soft. So I think that's part of carrying with you, like I said, you know, the different moments in life, and not leaving them behind, you know. So I don't know.
It's also part of being Argentinian, I think.
Claro, part of being Argentinian.
I think about los luthiers, los comediantes. ¿Cómo
Los
se llama?
comediantes, sí, claro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm mystified by the idea that you wrote the music for Brokeback Mountain before you saw visual images. Can you talk about the process? I mean, did you just, after you read the script once through, did you just, how does that happen? I mean, you're just reading along and you think, oh, there should be this type of music there?
Well, it's very, I mean, if we could explain that, then, you know, it's like asking to a magician, how do you cut that woman in half? I'm not telling. I'm not saying. No, it's really letting myself be absorbed by the story and the characters. One thing, for example, that I immediately connect with some of the things that I'm interested, like the use of silence and stuff, was something that was perfect for the movie, because those characters, they don't talk that much. Those two guys, right? I mean, they could be like, you know, 15 minutes and say, yes, well, that's it, you know what I mean? So the use of silence and space, and especially with those landscapes too, you know, it was very natural, very organic. So I knew that somehow, I mean, I knew that will work. That silence will speak to the silence of those characters, but yet it's something that is hard to explain, you know. I don't know. It's just really connecting deeply with the characters and with the story, and being moved, reverberating with it, vibrating with it. And that's basically also what leads me to decide to work on a project or not. You know, I mean, I have done, you know, I produced more than 100 albums, for example, you know, and there's not one that it's like, oh, this one, you know, there's not one. I'm sure that it will be impossible for, you know, somebody to like all of them, probably, because also the variety, the eclecticism, it's, you know, it goes from the Kronos Quartet to Molotov, or to, I mean, immense, you know. But all of them have all my heart in them, you know, and passion, and so I'm very proud of all of them. They're like my kids, you know. I love all of them. There's not one favorite, you know. Which one is your favorite? No, I don't have a favorite, really. So it has to do with connecting with my heart. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
All right. We'll take one more question, and then we have a surprise, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Melanie.
Listening to you talk makes me very curious about your creative process. I am a visual person, so it's very hard for me to conceive of how the sound, the audible sound, comes to you and how you work through that. Can you just explain a little bit of that? How does music, how does creating music come into you, and how do you process that out written on paper?
Well, I have to clarify that I'm not an academically trained musician. I don't know how to read or write music. So I it's very intuitive. everything that I do. And actually, my word of notation is recording. You know, so whenever I have an idea, I record it. And I create in many different ways. I take different roads. Obviously, one of the most important things to make music is to develop a skill to listen. You need to, first, to make music, you need to learn how to listen to music and to sound. You know, sound is something also that attracts me immensely. You know, I really, I can hear music in many places, not necessarily coming out of what are conceived as instruments, but life, the music of life. You know, the music of the forest, the music of the cities, the music of an apartment, the music of of a street. So it's and everything once again also is related to another important concept for me, which is the concept of attention, paying attention. You know, attention is something, a tool, perhaps one of the most important tools that we need to use and we need to learn how to use. Attention. You know.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Amazing.
Pay attention.